Yeah, so we have about 35,000 registered bidders on EnergyNet. Those they're all accredited investors or they're corporations. I would say to kind of how I identify and kind of break down the marketplace of buyers. There's probably a couple hundred, publicly traded E&P companies. I mean, the big boys participate. They buy their non-op interest. They buy an adjacent operator. They buy minerals under, in an area they're active. Leasehold, government lease sales, which I'll talk a little bit about. And then we have the private equity sponsored teams. There used to be 500 or so teams. There's probably maybe 250, 300 of those now, but there's always new teams entering. There's privately held groups, and some are huge, like Hillcorp and Citation and Anschutz, and some are regional, groups out of Hobbs, New Mexico, or Midland, or Lafayette, Louisiana, or Cody, Wyoming. That they may not be a huge company, but they may have 100 or 200 million dollars in assets. Then we have a lot of family offices. I think we have about 2,000 or so family offices. There's some institutional investors. There's what we call investor groups, which are buddies or kind of a loose affiliated network of, I retired from Exxon, and I used to work over here, and this is my geologist buddy. And instead of investing in IBM stock or Tesla stock, they're still having fun being in the oil field, bidding on assets and fields that they know and understand. So we see a lot of that. The royalty buyer in space is really big. And a lot of high net worth individuals, especially on kind of the sub $500,000 deals. And that's what's interesting. So of the 35,000 total registered bidders we have, last year was our, even in a downturn, and maybe it's just people were at home and had nothing better to do, but we had our most bidder registrations in our history. We had about 3,300 new bidder registrations just last year. But with those, if you go to EnergyNet, you can't see anything unless you can't see any deals unless you have a registration, have a user ID and password. So you create that registration, you certify yourself as an accredited investor, say that you're both rich and smart and know what you're doing, and if you mess up, then it wasn't EnergyNet or the seller's fault. And then after that, you can see the assets that are for sale or that are offered, but before you can bid on them, then you have to establish a bid allowance, which means it's our way of verifying the financial worthiness of the bidder. So, maybe I'm an individual and I want to be able to spend up to $200,000. Maybe I'm, Apache or Aventive, and I want to be able to spend up to $50 million. But we verify that before the bidding takes place. And they also agree to what I mentioned before, the buyer terms and conditions, kind of the rules of engagement for how it will work, either in the auction or the sealed bid format.